I thought losing her to another man would be the worst thing imaginable. I was wrong. I lost her to a world I was never even part of. I used to think I was pretty good at reading people. It's a quiet skill, nothing flashy, just a habit I picked up from growing up in a house where silence could mean anything from peace to a ticking bomb. You learn to watch closely. You learn to feel the temperature of a room before stepping inside it. That's probably what made me fall for Leah in the first place. She was unreadable, in a way that didn't feel like a wall, but more like a locked journal. Something private, but not hostile. And when she let me in, when she laughed at something dumb I said, or when she rested her head against my shoulder like it just made sense to her, it felt like I'd earned it. Like I mattered. We'd been together for 3 years when it started to shift. Nothing huge at first. Just small misalignments in our usual rhythm. She was still sweet. Still said, "I love you," when we hung up the phone. But there were gaps. Delays before she said it. A kind of hollowness that hadn't been there before. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Her job had gotten more intense. She just made senior designer at the firm she'd been grinding at for years. Long hours. Pressure. A new team. So I didn't press. I cooked more often. Picked up her favorite snacks. Texted her those little notes during the day like, "Miss your face," or "You're killing it. Proud of you." She always replied. But it felt polite. Like someone responding to a thank you card. Then came Jamie. Jamie was her new coworker. I remember the first time she mentioned her. We were sitting on the couch, eating Thai food and watching a documentary about mountaineering disasters, of all things. Leah offhandedly said, "Jamie from my team said I'd love this. She's obsessed with survival stories." The name caught my ear. I didn't know if Jamie was a guy or a girl, and I didn't really care, not at first. But there was something in the way she said it. Casual, but warm. Like an inside joke I wasn't in on. I asked, "She's new?" Leah nodded. "Yeah. Super talented. Kind of intense, but in a good way." I let it go. Why wouldn't I? Over the next few weeks, Jamie's name came up more and more. Not constantly, but enough that I noticed the pattern. Jamie thought this. Jamie recommended that. Jamie had this amazing take on how design is basically problem-solving through emotion. Stuff Leah used to say about me in a different language. Still, I didn't want to be the insecure boyfriend. I trusted Leah. And anyway, she wasn't pulling away, not exactly. But she was preoccupied. We stopped having love as often. She still kissed me goodnight, still wrapped her arms around me when we slept. But there was a stillness to it. Like her body was there, but her mind had walked out the door and forgotten to take her with it. One night, we were at dinner with some mutual friends, and I caught Leah looking across the table, not at me, not at anyone in particular, just somewhere else. She wasn't fidgeting or distracted. She was smiling softly, a private smile. And something in me bristled. It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't even suspicion. It was grief. The kind you feel when something you love has already started to die, and you're the last one to admit it. A week later, I found out she was going to an art show with Jamie on a Saturday. We'd already made plans. It wasn't a date. I didn't think it was, anyway, but she told me about it like a formality. Not like she was asking. "I thought we were going to see your brother's band," I said, trying to keep it light. She blinked. "Oh. I totally forgot. Could we go next weekend instead?" It wasn't the end of the world. But it wasn't nothing either. Later that night, while she was in the shower, I checked her phone. I'd never done it before. I didn't even feel good about it. But something in my chest had started to curl inward like paper in a fire. There were no sexts. No flirty emojis. Just a thread of texts, long ones, full of links to poetry and music and art. Deep, personal conversations. The kind you have at 2 a.m. with someone you're secretly in love with. And then I saw it, a message from Jamie sent 2 nights ago. I meant it when I said I've never felt this way about someone before. Leah hadn't replied. but she hadn't deleted it either. The thing is, I didn't even feel angry at first. That message, I meant it when I said I've never felt this way about someone before, should have hit me like a truck. But it didn't. I stared at it, waiting for something sharp to rise in my chest. It didn't come. Just a dull throb behind my eyes and a kind of confusion. Because Jamie was a woman. And for whatever reason, my brain filed that under non-threatening. I told myself maybe it was just emotional, one of those intense, artistic friendships that flame bright and fast but don't mean anything in the long run. Leah was like that. Always connecting deeply with people. Always pulling meaning out of moments the rest of us would scroll past. I even closed the phone without reading more. I didn't go digging. I didn't scroll up. I didn't want to. Instead, I lay back in bed and stared at the ceiling, trying to picture the two of them together. Not in a sexual way, that didn't even register, not really, but just existing in a space without me. Laughing at things I wouldn't understand. Looking at each other like they were tuned to a frequency I couldn't hear. It should have felt impossible. But it didn't. It felt like the truth. The next morning, I didn't say anything. Leah made coffee, kissed my cheek, and put on a cardigan I'd never seen before, something soft and oversized. When I asked if it was new, she smiled. Jamie gave it to me, she said, like that was the most normal thing in the world. I nodded. Didn't ask why. Didn't ask why she smelled different lately, either. Less like her usual lavender cedar perfume, and more like warm citrus and sandalwood. Like someone else's home. Over the next few days, I tried to push the thought out of my head. I kept telling myself it wasn't a big deal. That if Jamie had been a guy, sure, I would have lost it. But she wasn't. And Leah had never once said anything about being into women. Not even as a hypothetical. So I convinced myself it was fine. That I was overthinking everything, like always. Still, little things kept piling up. Leah was on her phone more, but not in the scrolling for hours kind of way, more like she was waiting, watching. Sometimes I'd catch her smile at the screen, soft and slow, then quickly lock it and tuck it under a pillow like a reflex. One night, I suggested we go out. Just the two of us, dinner, drinks, maybe that rooftop place she liked. She hesitated. Said she'd already promised Jamie they'd go to a gallery opening. I offered to come along. She paused. It's kind of our thing, she said. Our thing. I didn't press. Just nodded, like I understood. Like I wasn't watching the edges of my place in her life fray thread by thread. The next time I saw Jamie in person was at a mutual friend's party. Leah and I showed up late, and Jamie was already there, curled up on a patio chair in conversation with a girl I didn't recognize. Her hair was tied back, a delicate tattoo peeking from behind one ear, the kind of detail you notice without meaning to. She looked up when we arrived, not surprised, but not exactly warm either. Just measured. Leah lit up when she saw her. It was a split-second thing, a tiny inhale, eyes softening, a smile that curled at the corners like it had a private history behind it. And maybe it did. Maybe it was nothing. But it didn't feel like nothing. Jamie stood, and they hugged. Not long. Not inappropriate. But not casual either. I walked over, trying to feel normal. Hey, I said, extending a hand. Jamie, right? She smiled, took it. Her grip was firm. Yeah. Good to finally meet you. Finally. The word hung there. We made small talk for a bit. She was friendly, polite, asked me about my job, cracked a couple jokes that landed well. But something about her made my skin hum. It wasn't what she said. It was the way she looked at Leah, not often, not obviously, but with this quiet gravity. Like Leah was a compass needle she couldn't help but follow. At one point, I excused myself to grab another drink. When I came back, Leah and Jamie were on the couch, heads tilted together, looking at something on Jamie's phone. They weren't touching, but the space between them felt deliberate, charged. I stood there for a moment before Leah noticed me. She smiled, waved me over, like everything was fine. But I didn't sit down. I just said, bathroom, and walked past them. I ended up outside. The air was cold. I stood by the fence, trying to breathe slow, trying to stop imagining things. A guy I vaguely knew came out for a smoke, nodded at me, and said, "Didn't realize Leah and her girl were a thing." I turned. Her girl. He raised an eyebrow. Jamie? Thought they were together. They've got that vibe, you know? I forced a laugh. Nah, she's with me. He shrugged. Could have fooled me. Then he wandered off into the dark, leaving the words echoing behind him. The next morning, I woke up before Leah. She was still curled on her side, mouth slightly open, hair fanned across the pillow. Peaceful. Innocent, if you didn't know better. But I did. Or I thought I did. The night before kept replaying in my head, Jamie's quiet magnetism, the way Leah seemed to lean toward her like a plant following sunlight, and that guy's offhand comment. Didn't realize Leah and her girl were a thing. I hadn't responded. Hadn't even really processed it until now. It wasn't like I hadn't noticed changes in her, but I'd framed them as work stress, burnout, growing pains. Anything but what they really were. Because the alternative, that she was falling in love with someone else, and not just someone else, but someone who made me obsolete by definition, I couldn't wrap my head around it. When she finally stirred, her hand reached for me instinctively. She found my chest, fingers splayed, and rested there with a familiarity that felt cruel in its ease. "Morning," she murmured, not opening her eyes. I waited a beat before replying. "Hey, can I ask you something?" Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Sure. You and Jamie. How close are you? Really?" She blinked, then sat up slowly, pulling the blanket around her like armor. "What do you mean? You talk about her a lot. You see her more than anyone. You wear her clothes now." There was no accusation in my voice, not yet. Just exhaustion. Leah sighed, brushing her hair out of her face. "We're close. She's one of the only people who actually gets me right now." That word again, right now, like I was the version of her from a past life. A ghost still sitting at the dinner table. "I heard something last night," I said carefully. "At the party. Some guy thought you two were together." Leah's face didn't change much. Just a slight tightening around the mouth. Not denial. Not surprise either. More like resignation. "And what did you think?" she asked softly. I hesitated. I didn't know what to think. She nodded, eyes cast downward. "That's fair." I waited. She didn't offer more. So I asked, "Are you with her?" I nodded. "No," she said, but it came out so quietly I barely heard it. "Not officially. Not like that." I sat up, my pulse picking up. "But you want to be?" That got a reaction. Her eyes snapped to mine, not angry, not defensive. Just raw. "I don't know," she said. "It's not that simple." I felt like I was standing on a frozen lake, and somewhere beneath my feet, the first cracks were starting to echo. "Then explain it to me." She hesitated. Then, after a long pause, she said, "You remember when I started going to those meetups after work? The creative community nights?" I nodded. "Sure. I thought they were networking things." They were. Kind of. But they were also, for people like me. People figuring things out. What things? She exhaled slowly. Their orientation. Their identity. How they fit into the world when the old boxes don't really work anymore. I blinked. "You mean, like LGBTQ stuff?" "Yeah," she said. I didn't go there planning to have some revelation. I met people who spoke out loud things I'd only ever felt in flickers. It was like finally being in a room where the air matched what I was breathing. It was the first time I'd heard her speak like that in months, not distracted or distant, but rooted, honest. It hit harder than any confession. "Leah," I said, careful not to sound like I was accusing her, "have you ever been with a woman before?" She shook her head. "No, not physically." Not until recently did I even let myself consider the idea that I wanted to. I stared at her, and she didn't look away. How long have you known? I asked. She closed her eyes for a moment. It's not like flipping a switch. It's more like you keep walking past a locked door in your house, and one day you find the key on the floor. And Jamie, I said, is she the key? She didn't answer right away. But when she did, it wasn't evasive. She's the first person who didn't make me feel wrong for opening the door. The silence that followed wasn't angry. It was heavy, final in some small, invisible way. I rubbed my jaw, feeling 100 versions of myself all folding in at once. The boyfriend, the protector, the afterthought. Were you ever going to tell me? I asked. She looked pained. I don't know. I kept thinking it was just a phase, something I'd worked through and come back from. And now, she gave the faintest shake of her head. Now I don't think I want to come back. It landed with more weight than she probably intended. Like I'd just been told I wasn't the destination anymore. I was the detour. Are you leaving me? I asked. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. That night, I sat in the living room after she went to bed, scrolling through her Instagram. Most of it was normal photos of her with friends, design projects, coffee shops. But then I found a tagged photo from one of those meetups. Someone had taken a candid of a group at a rooftop bar. Leah was in the middle, laughing, head thrown back. Jamie was beside her, not touching, but close. The caption read, "Chosen family feels like this." I stared at it for a long time. I thought about what it meant to love someone who was still learning to love themselves, and what it meant to be the person they had to leave behind to do it. By the time I realized she wasn't just drifting, she was searching, it was already too late to pull her back. After our talk, things didn't fall apart all at once. They frayed. Quietly. Leah didn't pack a bag. She didn't storm out. She still came home every night, still slipped into bed beside me like it was muscle memory. But it felt like I was sleeping next to someone whose soul had already drifted to another room. She made dinner sometimes, asked how my day was. But the warmth wasn't steady, it came in flickers, like a dying signal. And Jamie? She never came up again. Not directly, but her presence never left. I kept thinking about what Leah said. Now I don't think I want to come back. That sentence hung between us like fog. Not enough to end things, but enough to make every moment feel borrowed. One night, maybe 2 weeks after the conversation in bed, I came home from work and found Leah sitting on the floor of the living room, legs crossed, papers and sketches spread around her. She looked calm. Soft music played in the background, instrumental, moody. The kind of stuff she used to listen to when she needed to think. I hesitated in the doorway. Hey. She looked up. Hey, she said. Her eyes weren't distant tonight. They were tired, but focused. Present, in a way I hadn't seen for a while. I took a breath. Can we talk? She nodded slowly. Yeah, I think we should. I sat across from her on the couch. Not too close. Not too far. I've been trying to give you space, I said. But I need to understand something. I'm not asking to fix it, I need to know where we really stand. She rested her arms on her knees and looked down at the floor. I know. You deserve that. I know you're still figuring things out. But are you in love with her? Leah's eyes met mine. There was a long pause before she answered. I don't know if it's love. Not yet, she said. But it's something. It's real. My throat felt tight, but I pushed forward. Do you even want to be with men anymore? Her lips pressed together, not in frustration, but in thought. And then she said, slowly, I'm not gay, if that's what you're asking. So you're bi. She nodded. I think I've always been. But I never had the space to really admit it. Not even to myself. When we got together, it wasn't like I was hiding anything. I just thought, this was it. You were it. And now, her voice softened. Now I know there's a part of me I've never really lived. And Jamie, she makes that part louder. I leaned back. The room felt too quiet. But she's a lesbian, right? I asked. I mean, she's not bi too? Leah shook her head. No. She's only into women. I laughed, dry and bitter. So what does that even mean for you two? I don't know, she said. That's part of why this is so confusing. She's into me, but I'm not fully what she usually wants. And I'm still trying to understand if I want her, or if I want what I feel around her. That stopped me cold. What does that mean? I asked. You don't even know if you want her? She looked at me, something breaking through in her voice, a sadness, maybe even guilt. Jamie makes me feel like I'm fully seen, like I don't have to explain the contradictions in myself. It's not just about wanting her. It's about wanting to be that version of me. I felt like I was shrinking in real time. So I'm a contradiction? No, she said quickly. That's not what I meant. You've always accepted me, but I've always presented a version of myself that fit into your world. Now I'm realizing there's a version that doesn't, and I don't know which one is more real. That silence again. Heavy. Intimate in the worst way. I don't want to hate you, I said. But every time I picture you with her, I feel like I'm watching myself disappear. Leah wiped under her eyes. You're not disappearing. You're just no longer the center. That hit harder than anything else. I got up, paced to the kitchen, then turned back. So what now? You keep living this double life? Testing it out like you're trying on clothes. She didn't flinch. I've been asking myself that same question every day. I leaned against the counter, staring at the fridge like it held some secret answer. Does she know that you're this unsure? She knows I'm figuring it out, Leah said. But she's also clear about what she wants. She wants someone who wants her completely. And I'm not there. Not yet. I let out a breath. But you could be. She didn't deny it. I walked back into the living room, but I didn't sit. I think what scares me most is that you're not leaving because of something I did. You're leaving because of who you are. And I can't compete with that. Her eyes welled again. I never wanted to hurt you. That's the worst part, I said. I know. That night, we didn't sleep in the same bed. I stayed on the couch. Not out of spite, but because I needed space from the ache. At some point, I heard her crying in the bedroom. Not loudly. Just soft, broken breaths muffled by a pillow. I didn't go to her. I couldn't. The next morning, I woke to a text from her. Can we take a walk tonight? There's more I need to say. I don't want to hide anymore. I stared at the message until my vision blurred. This wasn't about another person anymore. It was about a life she wanted that didn't include the shape of me in it. We walked in silence for the first few blocks. The sun had just dipped below the rooftops, painting everything in that blue-gray hue that makes the world feel hollowed out. She kept her hands in her coat pockets. I kept mine clenched. It felt like walking towards something final. But neither of us said it out loud. We passed the corner store where she once kissed me on a dare in the rain, laughing so hard we dropped our groceries. We passed the mural she took a photo in front of the first week we moved into our place. Memories trailed behind us like shadows. Finally, she spoke. I'm not sure how to start this. I didn't look at her. Try the middle, then. She let out a faint, sad laugh. Okay. The middle is, I'm still in love with parts of you. That hurt in ways I didn't expect. Like she was gently carving me up, piece by piece. But not the whole? I asked. She was quiet for a beat. Not in the way you need. Not in the way you deserve. We turned down a quieter street. Trees above us were just starting to bloom, too early, too hopeful. It felt wrong. I keep thinking if I were braver, I'd have said something sooner, she said. But I didn't want to break this. Us. You've been home to me for so long. I stopped walking. Then why are you moving out of it? She turned to face me, her eyes steady but rimmed in red. Because I've been living in a version of myself that can't keep breathing inside these walls. I want her to scream. To shake her. To remind her that we built this life together. Brick by brick. But none of that matters when someone's already halfway gone. Love becomes a leash they're trying to cut. She doesn't even want the same thing as you, I said. Jamie, she's a lesbian. You said it yourself. You're not what she usually wants. I know, Leah said, but she wants me. And when I'm with her, I feel real. I feel possible, like I'm not editing myself. And with me, her voice broke a little. With you, I've been safe, held, known, but also contained. I turned away, biting the inside of my cheek. Do you hear how that sounds? Like being loved by me is a cage. I know it's not fair, she said. You've never been anything but supportive. But the more I lean into who I am, the more I realize I've been living under this quiet pressure to stay consistent. To stay the Leah you fell in love with. I faced her again. So you're saying I loved the wrong version of you? She shook her head. You loved the version I gave you. I just didn't know yet that it was incomplete. We kept walking. The streetlights flickered on, one by one. They buzzed softly, like they were eavesdropping. You said you're bisexual, I said. Doesn't that mean you can love me and love her? Why does it have to be a choice? Leah took a long breath. Because she and I don't exist in the same place I do with you. With you, I've always been half in one world, half in another. I didn't realize how much of me I was holding back until someone looked at the parts I'd buried and said, I see them too. I swallowed. My hands felt cold. I've been here, I said. All this time. Loving all of you, even the parts one didn't understand. Isn't that enough? Her eyes softened. It was. For a long time. But I'm different now. Not better. Not worse. Just clearer. We reached the park near our apartment. The one with the benches facing the pond. We used to come here at night and talk about everything. Work, dreams, the future. Tonight, we sat in silence. After a while, Leah spoke again. Jamie and I haven't crossed any lines. We haven't kissed. We haven't touched. But we've had conversations that don't leave room for pretending. I looked at her. So what happens now? She stared out at the water. I think I need to go stay with a friend for a while. I need time to breathe without feeling like I'm betraying you every time I take a step toward who I am. I wanted to argue, to ask who the friend was. But I didn't. Some part of me already knew. You're choosing her, I said quietly. She shook her head. I'm choosing me. If she fits into that choice, then yes. But I'm not doing this for her. I'm doing it because I've outgrown the mask I didn't know I was wearing. I leaned back on the bench, staring at the sky. There were no stars, just a thick cover of clouds. I keep wondering if you'll wake up in 6 months and realize this was all confusion, I said. That you let go of something solid for a feeling. Leah turned to me. And what if I do? What if I come back and you're not here anymore? That would be your choice, I said. You're the one walking away. No, she said. I'm walking towards something. That's the part one need you to understand. I didn't reply. I couldn't. She reached for my hand. I let her take it, even though it felt like goodbye. I loved you, she whispered. I know, I said. That's what makes this worse. We sat like that until the chill crept in. She didn't ask me to walk her home. I didn't offer. At the corner, she turned and gave me one last look, not pleading, not regretful, just honest. She nodded once, then disappeared down the street. And just like that, the woman I thought I'd marry became someone I'd once known completely, and never truly at all. It's strange how silence has a shape. I hear it most in the mornings now, in the space where Leah's laugh used to echo off the walls, in the gap between 2 coffee mugs where only one remains. Her toothbrush still sits in the holder. A single hair tie, somehow overlooked, stays looped around the bathroom faucet. And I don't touch any of it. I live around it, like a ghost orbiting the life I used to have. It's been 3 weeks. She didn't come back. Not even for her sweaters. Not even to explain the parts one never got answers to. She just stayed gone. Stayed with Jamie. She didn't lie. She didn't cheat. But somehow, she still left me feeling like I'd been replaced by someone I never thought I could lose to. And I don't know why I expected anything different. Maybe because it never felt like she was cheating in the way we usually talk about it. There were no lies screamed in the dead of night. No passwords cracked. No lipstick-stained collar or hotel receipt. What she gave Jamie wasn't hidden. It just wasn't spoken. And in some ways, that made it worse. I keep wondering where I lost her. Not the day, the moment. Because it wasn't when she met Jamie. It wasn't even when she realized what she was. It was when something inside her asked, what if there's more than this? And she answered. I saw a photo of them online last night. It was tagged, not posted by either of them. A friend from Leah's design circle uploaded it. A casual shot at some gallery event. They weren't posing together, weren't even touching, but they were standing close, facing each other, lost in conversation while the world blurred behind them. And I recognized that look. It's the one Leah used to give me. The one that says, you're the gravity keeping me here. I stared at it for a long time. Not out of anger. Not jealousy. Just confusion. Because the truth is, I still don't get it. I still don't understand how someone can love you completely and still leave. And I know, people change. People evolve. But I wasn't holding her back. I didn't clip her wings or ask her to shrink. I stood by her. Loved her. Asked the questions. Gave the space. And somehow, I still became the wrong answer. I think what haunts me the most is that I'll never be able to call what happened a betrayal in the traditional sense. She didn't cheat. She didn't lie, not really. She just outgrew me. And maybe that's the cruelty of it. That someone can outgrow you without even meaning to. I replay our last walk more than I should. The way she said Jamie hadn't touched her. The way she said, yet without saying it. I knew then it was only a matter of time. Emotional intimacy has its own gravity. You orbit long enough, and eventually, you fall in. And that's the thing. Jamie didn't steal Leah from me. She just saw something I hadn't been allowed to see. A version of Leah that wasn't edited, or careful, or trying to be the woman I loved. She was just her, raw and unfinished. And somehow that was enough. What does that say about me? That I built a home for a person who didn't want shelter anymore? Sometimes I wonder if she ever looks back. If she misses the stupid jokes I used to make in the cereal aisle. If she thinks of how I used to rub her back when she couldn't sleep, counting each circle like a secret language between us. If she remembers the night I almost proposed, the ring burning a hole in my pocket, my hands sweating as we watched fireworks from the rooftop. I didn't do it. I kept the ring. It's still in the drawer by my bed. Sometimes I take it out just to prove to myself it was real. That all of it was. Because now it feels like something I dreamed. A life imagined too vividly to survive the daylight. I haven't dated since. I don't even know how I'd start. What would I say? Hi. I'm the guy who gave everything to someone who realized she needed something I could never be. It's not the kind of story that makes for good first dates. My friends have tried to pull me out. Drinks, trivia nights, gym memberships I'll never use. They mean well, but I can see the pity in their eyes. Like I've been shelved. Like I'm the one who stayed while the world kept spinning. And maybe I am. I don't hate Leah. That's what surprises me the most. I keep waiting for the bitterness to settle in. For the sharpness. But all I feel is this dull, hollow ache. Like I've been erased from the narrative without being written out. She didn't do it to hurt me. That's the line I keep coming back to. But she did hurt me. And that has to matter, even if no one gets blamed for it. I don't think she'll come back. Not now. Not after what she's found. Jamie was never the villain in this story. She was just the mirror. And Leah looked into it and saw something she couldn't unsee. Maybe that's the part I'll never understand. Not that she left, but that what we had, what I thought was enough, was never the whole picture for her. I was half her truth. Jamie is the rest. And I have to live with that. So no, this isn't a revenge story. It's not a tragedy, either. Not in the way people expect. No screaming. No dramatic exits. Just the quiet, Relentless end of something I didn't realize was dying. The house is still here, Dot. So is her toothbrush, Dot. And sometimes, I still make 2 cups of coffee without thinking. But there's only one person sitting at the table now. And I still don't know why. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.